Hey, this is Joe Luciano of Joe's Homes, Realtor with Bentley's. Today I'm going to go over the 5 most affordable towns in North Shore, Massachusetts, more specifically in Essex County. I want to preface this by saying the word affordable and Massachusetts don't really belong in the same sentence. These 5 are the most affordable for Massachusetts and for the North Shore. They may not at all be affordable when you look at the rest of the country, if you look at different parts of the state, but these are the 5 most affordable for this area. To curate this list, I looked at both the average and median sale prices for both single families and condos in each market so far this year. So just note that every number is a year-to-date number as of early June 2023. Condos are generally the more affordable option, so in some cases it may make more sense to look at just the condos where you'll find the lowest entry. Alright, so let's get right into it. Methuen comes in at number 5 on the list as the 5th most affordable place to buy in Essex County. The average single-family sale price in Methuen is $521,500, and the median is right on the dot at $500,000. Looking at the condos in Methuen, the average was $482,500 and the median was $399,500. I like to give you both the average and the median because the average, well, that obviously gives you the average, the total sales volume divided by the number of sales. What the median in this case is more useful, as what the median will tell you is that half of the sales were below this number, half of them were above it. So in this case, we can tell that half of the sales were below $400,000. Methuen is not at all the cheapest when it comes to condos specifically. A lot of that has to do with the amount of adult communities in Methuen, the 55 plus communities. Lots of these 55 plus condos are newer, they're pretty large, they have lots of amenities. These will sell in the $700 to $900 range on average. And that's of course going to push the needle higher for the average and median when it comes to condos in Methuen. But the reason Methuen is number 5 on my list is because of the price of single families. With a median of only $500,000, Methuen is actually the 2nd most affordable on this entire list. And again, considering we're looking at the median here, this implies that half of the single family sales were actually less than $500,000. Now a little bit about Methuen, it's definitely more of a city, which is a trend you're going to see a lot of on this list, which is just kind of given the nature of affordability and a higher density in housing. There's a population in Methuen of just over 53,000 people. Methuen is in the northwest corner of Essex County. It's south of both Salem and Pelham, New Hampshire, right along the Massachusetts-New Hampshire border. In Mass, it's bordered by Haverhill to the east, North Andover, Lawrence, and Andover to the south, and then Drake to the west, which is over in Middlesex County. When it comes to commuting, a nice part about Methuen is that it's directly off of both 495 and 93. Taking 93, you can get into Boston in about 35 minutes, assuming that there's not that much traffic. It's also basically equidistant on 93 between Boston and Manchester, New Hampshire, depending on where you need to be. When it comes to taking the train in Methuen, it's not really great. Your best bet is probably to take a bus or catch a ride to either Lawrence or Lowell to then catch the Haverhill line or Lowell line of the commuter rail. Next up on the list, coming in at number 4, this one might be a little bit debatable, but I'll explain why it's on my list. I have North Andover. If you're familiar with Massachusetts, Merrimack Valley, North Andover specifically, you may know North Andover for having these $1 million+ colonials, these large, grand, sprawling mansions, to which you'd be correct. Those are absolutely in North Andover and they are not at all affordable. The average and median for single family homes in North Andover is not at all why North Andover made my list for affordability. The median and average there would be mid to high 800s. Now the condos, however, in North Andover, a much different story. The average sale price for condos in North Andover so far this year is $393,000 and the median is $355,000. And there's been 47 condos that have already sold this year, which means we're not necessarily working with limited data here either. North Andover has an estimated population of over 31,000 people, but it is quite large geographically, so that population and density is going to vary from area to area. Bordering the town is Haverhill to the northeast, Methuen to the north just across the Merrimack River, Lawrence to the northwest, Andover to the west, North Reading, Middleton, and Boxford are all to the south and east. And just by looking at the towns that border North Andover, it can probably give you a pretty decent idea on which parts are more expensive and which parts are more affordable. As I said earlier, North Andover is pretty large, so the commute will definitely vary depending on which part of North Andover you're in. The absolute fastest route into Boston is by taking 495 over to 93 south. At its best, that'll be about a 30-minute drive. Now the range to commute into Boston is anywhere between 30 and 40 minutes, fairly similar to Methuen, which we just went over, given its close proximity. It's a similar story when it comes to the train, as your best bet is probably catching a ride to either Lawrence or Andover and taking it from there. Coming in at number 3 on this list, I have Haverhill. I've actually covered Haverhill before in a video before, so if you're interested in a more in-depth look, be sure to check that out. In Haverhill, the average single-family sales price this year has been $552,000, and the median has been a little bit lower at $525,000. So it is more expensive than Methuen in this department. Looking at condos, the average sales price is just shy of $373,000, and the median is right on par with North Andover at $355,000. So Methuen was cheaper when it came to single families, North Andover was fairly comparable when it came to condos, but overall Haverhill is more affordable than the two of them, so that's why it is number 3 on this list. Haverhill, much like Methuen, has much more of an urban atmosphere with the exception of Bradford. The population stands at just over 67,000 people, which is the largest one so far. Haverhill also includes Bradford, which is the part of Haverhill south of the Merrimack River. Being just east of Methuen, Haverhill is also right along the Massachusetts-New Hampshire border, and south of Haverhill is Boxford, Groveland, and West Newbury. Just east of Haverhill is Merrimack. You're probably noticing that so far all of these towns are in roughly the same area, right along 495 or the Merrimack River. That being said, the commute from Haverhill into Boston is also fairly similar to the others. Best route being take 495 down to 93. You can expect that to be about 40 minutes. Luckily, Haverhill does have a commuter rail right in town, so it is a little bit better than the other two in that sense. Again, I did a more in-depth video on Haverhill, living in Haverhill, Haverhill's real estate market, so if you're interested in Haverhill specifically, do be sure to check that out. Down to number 2 on the list, and this one is not in the same area as all the others. The second most affordable place to buy a home in Essex County is Lynn. Single families are actually a bit more expensive than some of the places we've covered so far, with the average sale being about $540 and the median being about $530. The reason Lynn is number 2 on this list is for its condos. Despite the higher average and median for single families, the average sale price of a condo in Lynn is $353,000, and the median is even lower at $335,000. This making Lynn, generally speaking, the cheapest place to buy so far. Lynn is also definitely more of a city with a population of just over 100,000 people. Northeast to Lynn, you have Swampscott, Salem, and Peabody. Northwest is Lynnfield, west is Saugus, and southwest is, or south is Revere. Then you also, of course, have Nahant, which is kind of like an island off of Lynn. Lynn is only 10 miles north of Boston, though it is generally about a 30-minute drive. Getting into Logan is a little bit less, just given Logan's proximity. Say probably about 20 to 25 minutes to drive to Logan. For public transportation, you could take either the Blue Line, or you could also take the commuter rail, as Lynn is on the Newburyport-Rockport line. The wait will vary, but the ride itself is only about 20 minutes into North Station. Finally, the most affordable place to buy in the North Shore, or more specifically Essex County, is Lawrence. Lawrence smokes the other cities and towns in terms of affordability. Both the average and median for the single-family homes that have sold so far in Lawrence is $435,000. This is $65,000 lower than our next closest, which was Methuen at $500,000. Condos in Lawrence are also priced much lower than the other towns we've spoken of so far, with the average being $279,000 and the median being $260,000. Lawrence has a population of about 89,000 people, and it is much smaller geographically than a lot of the others, so it is more dense, which you might come to expect given the affordability. Lawrence is also like the epicenter of a lot of the towns we've covered so far too, with Andover and Methuen both being right there. Lawrence is located right on the Merrimack River, south of Methuen, north of both of the Andovers. As you might expect, the commute time from Lawrence to Boston is about the same as Methuen and North Andover at about a 30-minute drive. The difference here is that Lawrence does have a commuter rail right in town. It does take an hour to get into the city, but it's much more doable, especially if you don't have a car, as you don't have to drive to a different town to get to the train station or take a bus, public transportation, etc. So there you have it. Those are the 5 most affordable places to buy in Essex County. I want to note that this list is not the 5 best places to live, the 5 nicest places to live. This is the 5 most affordable places to live. The only thing we really looked at here was affordability. Usually when a location is cheaper, there are reasons behind it. But with that said, there are good neighborhoods in every single town, and it is possible to find a decent place to call home, even on a lower budget. Other options outside of Essex County could include Western Massachusetts if you're willing to go a little bit further west. Usually you can stretch your money a lot farther out there. Also, you may consider going up into New Hampshire. I'm not licensed in New Hampshire, but I can connect you with someone that is. Thanks so much for watching till the end of the video. Leave a like if you found any of this at all helpful. Consider subscribing for more Massachusetts real estate content. If you're buying or selling a home in Massachusetts, please reach out. But until then, be sure to head over to my website, joes.homes, to start searching for your next home.